Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Old Man Strength. I'm your host, Chris Shipley, accompanied again by Aaron Wall. Aaron, what's up, man?
It was good to be back.
Yeah.
You missed an episode. I missed an episode, but now we're back.
That's right.
Back together again.
So I have a dilemma.
Okay.
So my daughter, Caitlin, who is no stranger to this show, she's interrupted several times in previous episodes, is staying here for a couple days. And dude, she's already turned on Mean Girls, the musical from 2024. First of all,
okay.
I didn't know that it was a fucking musical. And second of all, if this is what it's going to be like the next 2 or 3 nights, it's going to be a long week because I'm not watching Mean Girls, especially a musical.
I would like to say that I feel bad for you, but I can't say that. I have a almost 15-year-old daughter, and she watches all that crap too. So, about the best I can do is say that I sympathize with your situation.
I'll take it. Like I'll take
yours
some
is
sympathy.
only for a couple of days.
It's for a couple of days, and then she's going back to her apartment. Right.
I've still got like 4.5 years.
Yeah, that's
So,
rough. FYI, they come back though after 18. They come back. They don't.
The fuck she is. That is not happening. I will throw money at that problem to make sure that doesn't happen.
Spoken like a guy that's only got one kid.
That's right. That's right. I knew how to budget children. Hey, I wanted to touch base with you because, we both set some personal goals
Yes.
when I started being the regular host with you.
Yep.
To lose a little weight and get better at golf.
Yes.
I'm going to start with the getting better at golf part.
Okay.
I went and played today.
Yeah.
And broke 90 for the first time since I started playing again after a 7-year layoff.
Oh, well, hell yeah.
I shot an 85 today.
Wow.
40 on the front and 45 on the back.
That's good.
And the back had a double and a triple.
Wow. That's not bad.
I played pretty well today.
I went and played last weekend. It was the first time I went out this year. We just played 9 holes. It was my anniversary trip with my wife. It was I shot a 47. I had 7 par putts in a row, made 1 of them. So okay.
That's
ideal. That's not bad for the first time out. I'll take it.
Hey, 47 is respectable.
Yeah, it is.
Basically bogey golf. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. I was happy.
Yeah.
So
well, good. It sounds like we're both we're doing okay on that front. Now for the weight loss part, I think we're both doing okay here.
I think we are.
I think so. I got on the scale yesterday morning, I think it was, and weighed 256. So that's about 20 pounds less than what I said when we started doing this and talking about it.
That's
awesome.
I've
made some progress.
I started later, but I really started hitting it the 1st of June, and I am down 14 and a half pounds, and I'm below 300 pounds for the first time in probably 3 years. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm super excited. So I figure by bowl season, by bowl season, I'll be wearing maybe a 2X. That's my goal, and I'll be able to buy some new Iowa State stuff. So.
Well, cool. Well, that sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, we should probably get to our guest.
We should. I reached out to this gentleman last week. He's obviously no stranger to Cyclone fans and to Central Iowa. Super great guy. He is works for the Iowa State Alumni Association. Does some work for Cyclone Fanatic and for Iowa Everywhere. Is a photographer, a hell of a photographer. I've seen some of his stuff. As a matter of fact, I have one of his photos that he was kind enough to let me use up in my basement. Matt Van Winkle, thanks for coming on, man.
What's up, guys? Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. I have to ask you, Shipley.
Yep.
What do you have against musicals?
Dude, we don't have that kind of time. Like
Like what?
It's Jesus, it's so bad.
There's nothing wrong with musicals.
Yes,
There's nothing
yes,
wrong.
there is. Yes, there is. I can't think of one musical that I was like, oh hell yeah, I gotta go pay money to
Did
see.
either of you guys see Hamilton?
Oh, dude, don't even get started on that show.
What?
I didn't see it live. I saw the TV recording.
Oh, on Disney, yeah.
I saw the version on Disney, and I literally, Caitlin kept saying, "You got to watch this show, Dad. You're so into history. You got to watch this show." So I sit down. I'm 5 minutes in. I text her. Do they sing through this whole fucking thing?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't do this. I said, no way. I suffered through it. It was not good.
Well, okay. What about like Chicago? It's
Never
not all singing.
Never seen it.
Yeah, of course you haven't.
Don't even know what it's about.
Wicked. Look at the
that...
blank stare on his face, Matt.
Hey,
look
Shipley,
at that.
if she turns on Mean Girls again, just put on "I Love You, Man," and we're all good, right?
That's right. I watched that show. That was great.
Shipley, you uncultured swine.
I mean,
who was it? Was it Andrew Downs that said that he sent out a tweet or something like, "I Love You, Man's one of the greatest, or is one of the best comedies out there, like underappreciated comedies." And it is hands down. It is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
really?
I'm not kidding you. My friends will all attest to you. I've probably watched that movie about 200 times in my life. It came out when I was in college, and my roommate and I were just, I don't know what it was. It was the bromance of it. We had a bromance. We were so nerdy that one time, more than one time, we recited the "I Love You, Man" script over a campfire. So it tells you my love for that movie and Paul Rudd as a human being. I mean, even though he's a Chiefs fan, I forgive him.
Hand up, haven't seen it.
Okay, you got homework to do too, Aaron.
I'll have to watch it. I know of the movie, and I do like Paul Rudd.
It's a total hidden gem if you haven't seen it.
I did watch it tonight.
Lou Ferrigno is a pivotal character in the movie. So.
Yes.
Oh well, shit! Nobody told me that before. I'd have watched it a long time ago.
Fuck
Jason Segel.
Jason Segel.
What the heck happened
underrated.
To that guy?
Lou Ferrigno?
After How I Met Your Mother. No, Segel.
Jason Segel.
He's been in a few things, but he's so funny.
He's so funny.
How I Met Your Mother. Forgetting Sarah Marshall was. Really good.
That came out around the same time too.
Yeah.
He was really hot back then.
I watched that movie a lot because it came out right around the time that I got divorced, and I was like, I could totally relate to that guy. So
that's a great movie.
It is a good movie. No, I watched that movie when Andrew tweeted it out. I literally had nothing to do, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. So I started watching it, and then Stacy caught on, and it was really good.
Just look at the cast. I mean, J.K. Simmons, Paul Rudd, Andy Samberg's in it, of course. Like this is SNL Andy Samberg. Rashida Jones, who is one of the, Parks and Rec fame of The Office.
Yep.
Like incredible female comedian. It's up and down. I mean, who's the guy that did Iron Man? What's his name? Jon Favreau.
John Favreau. Yeah,
Like,
he's it.
like they got everybody in this movie, man. It's Aaron, you got to watch it, and
I
please
will.
tweet
I
at me
will.
and tell me what you think.
I'll have to figure out what platform it's on. So I've got this week for work. I've got like a 1,500-ish mile round trip drive.
Ooh, yeah.
So I'll have plenty of nights in hotels, probably 3 nights in hotels this week. And assuming it's on something that I can whip up in the hotel, I'll watch it probably. I'll have time.
And I'm going to assume you're not going to queue up a musical while you're out.
Well, I might listen to the soundtrack of a musical. While
Okay, well, that's different. That's different.
There's a musical called Assassins that's all about murdering the attempted murders of the presidents of the United States over the years. It's from like the 80s
They
or
got to
90s.
add a new one to the list.
It's fantastic. It's really good.
Good grief.
What's his face? He's not in the original cast, but Neil Patrick Harris was in it on Broadway, or at least did a show of it somewhere. But he's not wasn't in the original cast.
So your all-time favorite movie is I Love You, Man.
It's in
comedy.
the top 5 for sure. It's of comedies, yes.
Mine would probably be Midnight Run with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Ever seen
It's
it?
a good movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay,
It's
so
a good
now
one.
you have some homework, Matt. But he plays a bounty hunter that has to bring Charles Grodin back across the country by a certain time to meet his deadline to get paid. And it is the absolute. Dennis Ferreira plays the mobster in it. And he's so hilarious because he just comes up with these outrageous, threatening things to say that are just completely off the rails. It's so good.
I'll give that a watch.
It's so good.
Looks
Yeah,
good.
it's good. All right, let's get started, Matt. So what we do here is we like to learn people's stories.
We bullshit.
Right? We bullshit, right? But we like to learn people's stories. And you were talking a little bit about your story beforehand.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off this segment sponsored by our brand new sponsor because we want to get him in here. Dan Douglas at Green Bay Realty has hopped on. So we're going to call this our coming home segment because he is a realtor. So let's get a word from him. And then Matt, what I want to do is I want to come back and let's talk about where you grew up. I know you have a really special place about San Francisco and a deep relationship with that place and your dad. And we'd love to hear some stories about that.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
In 2023, a crack Green Beret named Dan Douglas retired his military command and promptly escaped to a full-time career in real estate. Today, this man is wanted by home buyers and sellers who want to survive the process without spending a fortune. If you have a home to sell or want to buy one, maybe you can hire Dan Douglas at Green Beret Realty. You can find him at greenberetrealty.com. greenberetrealty.com.
all right, and we're back.
Damn it, I love that. I love that
It's
theme
so
song
great.
so much.
It is
The
so
A-Team
great.
is
The
the
A-Team,
best.
I sent that to him today, and he was like, "Oh, that might be the greatest thing I've ever heard." So,
awesome.
shout out to our little ad guy too, Dave Campbell. My friend Dave Campbell used to be in the radio. He does all our ads. So, and at fairly a cheap price. I'm buying him a bottle of bourbon from Rebelton. So,
Hey, nice.
yeah. So, all right, Matt. So let's talk about where you grew up. Let's start there. Where you grew up, and let's talk a little bit about your dad because I know you got a really nice, special story about.
Yeah, I'm
your
wearing
dad.
his hat right now, by the way. This is my
Oh,
dad's. This is my dad's Giants Grateful Dead throwback hat here.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah. I wear it quite a bit. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in. I was born and raised in San Jose, California. Little town, I like to say, south of San Francisco. Just the 10th biggest city in the United States. But yeah, I grew up there, born and raised there. Lived there till I was 15 years old. Man, total formative years out there. Big sports fan. So, San Francisco Giants, Golden State Warriors, 49ers, Sharks. Sharks are right there in San Jose. So grew up a huge sports fan. Really not a big college sports fan, honestly. Growing up in a bigger city. College sport, like my mom went to Cal, so I would say if I had any sort of allegiance to a sports team, it was probably Cal. I know, RIP Pac-12 or Pac-10 back when I was a kid. But yeah, lived there till I was 15. I have an older brother as well, 1 year older than me. My mom is actually from the Midwest as well. She's from Oklahoma. Do we call Oklahoma the Midwest?
No.
Is that south?
That's
Is that too far south?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything south of Missouri.
She lived in Maryville, Missouri for a while, but she was born in Edmond, Oklahoma. My dad was born in Oakland, so he was a born and raised California kid. My mom went out to college and went to Berkeley, and they met when she was out there. So yeah, I mean, long story short, lived there till I was 15, and my dad was looking for a job. Like we've all been, in that spot where we're looking for work. My dad was out of a job for a year. He had taken a few random positions here and there. We actually he lived up in Lake Tahoe for a year. So I got to spend a summer living on Lake Tahoe, which was kind of fun. But that was a total temporary thing until my dad could get a more stable job where we were all together. So we actually have family that live in Ames. My uncle taught English at Iowa State for about 30 years. He just retired. My aunt was on Iowa Public Radio for a long time and has retired since. But so we had family in Iowa. I had never been to Iowa before we decided to pick up and move halfway across the country. And my dad got a job in Des Moines. My mom was a freelance graphic designer, so she could pick up and move pretty much anywhere. We wanted a place, that was we knew was safe. We had some family close by. Good schools and stuff. So I was just starting my freshman year of high school when we moved. So I was 15 years old. Really, I mean, it was probably harder on my brother because he was a sophomore. So it was picking him up from a school he had just started at and moving to a completely new place. But, I went to Ames High School, was, kind of in the same boat as everyone. We were starting at a new school. But for me, I didn't know anybody. So, started getting involved in some sports, to do cross country and basketball. Decided to quit basketball when Harrison Barnes and Doug McDermott came around, and I knew that I had no shot to play basketball at that level. But no, baseball was a big sport of mine growing up. Hence the Giants hat. Big baseball fan. But yeah, so went to high school in Ames. Did my 4 years there. My parents actually got divorced right after I graduated high school. So yeah, that was a hard time because we were trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. My mom was moving back to California. I had decided at that point I wanted to stay and go to college at Iowa State. I thought about DMAC, just kind of doing a 2-year, and then I was like, well, I might as well just, if I'm going to do Iowa State, I'm just going to do it right, do all 4 years, live in the dorms, and decided to stay and go to college at Iowa State. I didn't even it was weird. Shipley, you went to Iowa State, right? You're a grad.
Yeah, Aaron and I both did. Yep.
You guys both did. I didn't even do, so since I lived in Ames, I didn't even do the formal college visit to Iowa State. I was there. I was around the school. So I didn't do that formal college visit that most kids do. I kind of just 2 weeks before classes, I'm signed up and let's do this thing. I did journalism at Iowa State. I don't even, just stop me if you want me to stop. I'm just kind of rambling at this point.
That's what we want.
Yeah. So I'll just lead you basically to where I am now. So I in college, I studied journalism. Thought I was going to do radio for a long time. I did a part-time job. I worked at KASI with the great Mel Crippen, a good mentor of mine, Dave Sproul, who was at KASI for a long time. Kind of took me in there. I got to call some Ames High baseball games when I was in college, and really got to see what the radio experience was like, and I really enjoyed it. But when I was in school at Iowa State, I found an interest in broadcast TV. Didn't think I would go down that path, but a friend of mine was like, hey, come be a sports anchor for ISU TV. It was the local Mediacom channel. You guys probably remember it back in the day, ISU TV 18. So I was like, sure, it sounds fun. If you want me to do sports, I'll do it. So joined that and just freaking fell in love with the broadcast side of things and shooting sports, going out to Jack Trice Stadium to shoot a football game, being courtside at Hilton Coliseum. As a student, it's crazy, the experience and the access they give you. A lot of people don't realize that, but students really do have, Iowa State is really good about allowing students to kind of grow. Even if you're working throughout the athletic department, through an internship, or even just as a student journalist, they are very willing to work with you and give you pretty good access, even if you're not with the daily, the traditional print. Even back then it was ISU TV wants to have a spot down here. Like, man, why not? But a lot of times I'd be covering like women's basketball or gymnastics stuff too. Wouldn't be covering the big stuff, but so it was basically like a mini like version of a TV station when we were there. I helped like start a sports talk program called Cyclone Insiders, which I think is still maybe going there in some sort of format. But you know, like Williams and Bloom, like they were doing a Cyclone sports show back then too. So like we've kind of was like carrying on a tradition there of like sports talk. But yeah, so did Iowa State, did ISU TV for my last couple of years, and then it was time to look for a job, and I had met my now wife at Iowa State, and we were moving to Des Moines, and I just happened to have a few connections, you know, kind of being in that student media space, and had a connection over at Channel 13, and they got me a job there. It's like I was a morning editor. So if that means anything to you guys, I was editing like video for the morning news. So that's, you know, 5 to 7 o'clock in the morning. But so that means me getting there at 2:30 in the morning. But I was living in
the prime shift that you were looking for.
Yeah, I was living in Ames too, so it meant like waking up at 1 in the morning, driving to the station at 2. So needless to say, that didn't last very long. But luckily, I got moved up like a few months after that to a photog as a photojournalist. So I was working the night side shift after that. Yeah, so I'll let you jump in with a question if you want me to just keep talking.
Well, I will say that I, like you, did not do the traditional visit campus thing.
Yeah.
But I had a similar excuse in the fact that, well, you were around Ames, right? So pretty familiar. Yep. I had an older brother who was a senior at Iowa State.
Yep.
Going into his senior year, well, his 5th year, when I started. So I went to Ames like 3 weeks before I could move into the dorms, and got drunk and slept on his couch for 3 weeks before school started.
Very untraditional, but
yeah. So,
right.
But I also did not do the college visit thing.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too, because like now I work for Iowa State. So I'm like involved in a lot of that, orientation type stuff in my job too. So, yeah, it's everyone has a different experience. Everyone has a different way of doing things, and yeah.
I didn't have one either. I honestly don't even remember like ever visiting the campus before. I think.
Well, you were lucky to get in.
That's the truth. That's not a lie.
Honestly,
I can tell you what my ACT was, and it was at the bare minimum. So
it's honestly crazy how much they do for our students now. Even if you're interested in Iowa State, like they have like an early interest, day where you can come and just like see the campus and get a tour. But like, yeah, it's wild. They go all out for students these days compared to when we were there.
It's such a funny. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was going to say we've got to quit talking about how I'm an Iowa State grad if he's a part of the alumni shit, because they haven't found me yet lately.
You're not a member? Come on, Aaron.
Let's quit talking about
I'll talk to you after the
show. I am planning on going to Ireland though next year. So
nice.
That's awesome. Make that trip. So
are you gonna go your own route, or are you gonna do it through?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the bookings because I travel a lot for work.
Yeah.
So I've got airline miles and Marriott points, and it's gonna be on the cheap. From that standpoint, so
it's cool. I mean, like, so they're working with this company called like On Location, which basically they put together trips for people, and they got a ton of different like package options. So if you want to do just like a real quick in and out, they have that. If you want to do like a week long, I do think a lot of people are probably like, if this probably is their first time doing Ireland, so they might just like, I really want to go see this, so they're gonna kind of maybe fly in a week early, and then like the game will be like the very last thing they do. So
that's kind of what I'm looking at doing, is doing the game probably last. Yeah. Because you're going to be in Dublin. We're going to go to Galway and do some other things. We'll probably spend about 10 days.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about it. We got 2 young kids, so it's like, do I?
Yeah.
Does the money go there, or does it go towards the college fund?
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, so I was at 13 for a few years. And that's when I got in with I got to know Keith Murphy really well. I was working sound off for, nights for 2 years, working the, sports shows, and I was shooting highlights for him, doing all kinds of odds and ends things, which was a ton of fun. And it's been great connections for me in my just even my professional career now moving forward. Getting to know him, and Andy and John Sears and those guys, Michael Admire, who I worked with back in the day. Yeah, so I was there for 3 years, worked a couple other marketing jobs. And I was telling you, Shipley, like, my wife, we moved up to Duluth, Minnesota, after a few years. Yeah. got my Duluth beer here. You can really see it. It's blending into my background, but, yeah, we moved up there for 3 years and we froze our asses off, and, honestly really liked it up there. Great people. I worked for a small TV station up there for a year, and I was working at a hospital in marketing for a while, the same hospital my wife was at, which was kind of cool. And we had our first kid up there, and then moved back to Iowa like 3 months before COVID. So it was kind of a whirlwind year for us as we moved back. But yeah, that kind of sets the stage to where I'm at today.
So what was the impetus for coming back? You get a different job, or?
We were looking probably to come back for probably a year-ish, 6 months. We just had a lot of friends back home that we really missed, and honestly, being close to Iowa State was a big thing. We were really involved with going to games and being part of that community, and just being closer to some of our good friends down here. We really missed. We didn't really want to leave Iowa. Honestly, it was kind of my wife had just graduated, and she was looking for jobs here. It just didn't work out that we could find one right away. And so we were like, we were both, we didn't have kids at the time. We were 24 years old. We're like, let's just do it, like move to a new place. And she's from Minnesota, but not that part of the state. So it was completely different change for us. But we were just up there. We went back to visit. We went on vacation up there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. For 4 months out of the year.
4 months. Yeah. So I once was at a seminar, some talks and whatever, and there was a young man there, and he was talking about him and his wife had didn't have any kids, and one of them had to take a job in a strange city, and they said that was probably one of the best things they had done for their marriage, because it really makes you rely on each other and not anybody else. So talk a little bit about what it's like as a newly married couple to move to a completely different city and you're all on your own. And does that really help you in a marriage?
I would say for sure. We kind of bet on each other, bet on ourselves, and just like, let's just do it. Let's make the jump. We had nothing really to lose at that point. I was working at a college in Des Moines. I was like, well, it's fine. I have the capacity in my career that I'm not tied down to anything. We moved up there, and we actually bought our first house up there too, which you talk about like a big like jump as a married couple. Like that is a big jump. When we got married, we were just living in a small apartment and did the townhouse for a while, and then we bought our first place together, which is definitely a big jump. And we made it work, and we had our first kid when we were up there, which that will teach you more about life than anything. Having your first kid, nobody prepares you for that. Nothing really can or will until you are thrown into the fire with it. It's a great fire. You know what I mean? It's the best thing that has ever happened to me is becoming a dad. And then my daughter's starting kindergarten in a couple weeks, and she's 5.5 years old. And we just had our second just celebrated her first birthday. So we're kind of going through that learning process again with another little one. But man, it definitely was a big jump for us to go up from a place we knew and loved in Iowa to Minnesota, which was, for her, it was familiar. She was born and raised in southern Minnesota, but a new city where we didn't really know anybody was definitely a big change. But we don't regret it. We don't regret it at all.
Yeah, 100%. So then you came down to Des Moines. What? Let's talk about your love for Iowa State a little bit. You said you wanted to move back to Iowa State and whatever. What's your maybe your favorite memory from your time at Iowa State? Best story and time,
Yeah.
a memory from when you were at Iowa State.
Oh,
Because I would
man.
imagine working in the alumni association.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about stuff like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll give you a personal and I'll give you kind of like a professional / like student experience. I mean, so I met my wife my very last semester at Iowa State. Senior year. It was like during a winter break, like right before classes were going to start again. We were at Mickey's on Welch, and it was karaoke night. And I saw a mutual friend of mine, and she was with another girl, and got to sing in some karaoke, and I won over my now wife singing Keith Urban. So, yeah, so that was a fun memory. We got engaged under the campanile, which was kind of fun. She was sick, and it was like 20 below zero, but it was still, it's one of those things you'll never forget. From a student perspective, sports journalism perspective, that's something you guys will like. I got to be on the field for the Oklahoma State game. I was like there covering it for ISU TV. There was such a unforgettable game. Friday night. It was a lot colder than people remember. Shipley, were either of you guys at that game?
Yeah. So I was just telling this story today.
Were you?
So a buddy of mine was going to give me tickets. My wife and we had just gotten married earlier that year. And so it was really our first fall together with all the kids as a family. And she wanted to go to the Omaha Zoo. And I was like, I got these tickets. I can get these tickets to this game on Friday. Can we just go Saturday morning? And she's like, oh, I think we should go Friday. And then we can stay at my dad's on Friday night in Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not go. I passed up on the tickets, and I was madder. I was so pissed that night when I was sitting there watching the TV.
I mean,
the
student section was.
You would have been really cold. It's okay. And I was like, I don't give a shit.
It did get really cold. People forget how cold of a game that was. It was a Friday, and a lot of students went home early just because it was like we were such big underdogs. It was like, we're not winning this game, no way. But man, so my buddy Andrew Schneider and we were down on the field shooting highlights, and this was back when I sound old, but we were shooting on like little tapes back then. It wasn't SD card; they were like DV tapes, and the game gets over. We're just like dumb college, like student journalists. We're like, we got to get back and edit this video and get it out on YouTube now. And like, I'm like thinking like we were just like, that's hot shit and stuff. Like we got to get this out to people. And we literally stayed at the student TV station till like 4 a.m. editing tape. Just thinking back about it makes me laugh. But man, what a ride that was. What a crazy experience that was. And yeah, that was like my first like thrill of like, whoa, this is cool. This is what like being in sports journalism can be. And yeah, and like tying that back into like what I was able to go on and do and work at like 13. Like I got to cover some cool stuff. Like we got to go, Admire and I, the best part of my time at 13. Well, one, I got to be on an RVTV, which was really fun. But I also got to cover the MLB All-Star game when it was up in the Twin Cities. That was the highlight of my like journalism career, in my opinion. My short journalism career, I was only in sports journalism for like 4 years at a TV station. But that was incredible. I got to like be in the National League locker room before the game, and that was when we were covering Tony. He was Tony Watson. He played for Dallas Center Grimes as a high schooler, and then I would think he was on at Nebraska for college. Then he was pitching for the Pirates back then. So, it was just up the road. So 13 sent us up there, and we got to spend a whole weekend up there. Home run derby, All-Star game, and got to see like I was standing right next to Madison Bumgarner as we're interviewing Tony in the dugout before the game. So. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Chris, you wouldn't believe it. Like that kind of stuff that Matt's doing to some extent. My neighbor, his uncle I think uncle by marriage, but whatever. Was a cameraman and did a lot of sporting event for ESPN and stuff.
Yeah.
Like has 7 Emmys on his wall from being a part of the production of those things.
Nice.
Like you get to see I mean, if you get into it and you do that kind of
like
stuff, I mean, you can go to a lot of really cool events.
I got a buddy, he was like a mentee of mine at ISU TV, and now he does like freelance stuff for all the major networks. He's like an audio technician. So he's in Paris right now doing setup for all the Olympic games and stuff. And he's done, I think this is like his 2nd or 3rd Olympics. He got to actually, funny story. So he got to do the Tokyo Olympics during COVID, but he flew out there and he got COVID. So he didn't get to work. But he still got an Emmy for being out there.
Nice.
I was just talking to him the other day. That's funny.
Nice.
Let's take a break. We'll get a word from Revelton. And then when we come back, I want to talk to you about working with Keith Murphy.
Let's do it.
You know, working with Hassel and Chris and how much fun you have with that. So let's come back when we come back with Matt after we get a word from Revelton Distilling Company.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
All right, and we're back. And again, thanks again to our sponsor. Yes, Aaron.
Was that the bottle that he signed to me that flashed across there for a second or two?
I don't think so. No, the one that said that you have a face for
that I have a face for radio. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it said Aaron at the top, and I wasn't sure, and I was like,
I got to go back. Maybe it is. That would be great.
We'll have to double check that.
I see that
my
Revelton
bottle could be famous.
I see that Revelton in Fairway all the time. I got to pick up a bottle of that. It looks good.
Matt, you got to pick it up. If you want
a
something
slick
really
logo.
sweet, the Mulberry Gin is really good. I grew up with Rob and Christy. I went to high school with them. They started in 2020 with just a small little idea, and they're now the fastest growing distillery in Iowa. So,
where are those guys located at, Chris?
Just off the highway in Osceola. So if you were to go to the 1400 West Clay Street, yeah. So they're on the opposite side. They're on the opposite side of the casino. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's a beautiful little tasting room down there too. So
cool.
All right, Matt, I'm putting you on the spot. Harder to work with, Keith Murphy or Chris Hassel?
Oh, Hassel, not even a thought, not even a question. Murph's the GOAT. He's a legend, man.
He is. When you said you worked for Murph, I was like, his tree might be more impressive than Hayden Fry's.
His tree is impressive, man. It was so cool to get to work with him and now to call him a friend. I grew up, watching, in high school, watching Sound Off and like laughing my ass off at Hassel skits. And now I get to work with Hassel too. And it's like, it's cool, man. Those guys are so smart. They've seen so much. They've experienced everything there is in sports journalism. I just have so much respect for those guys, and just to be like a small part of, what they're doing and what they've done is a total thrill for me. And I feel like, I've learned a ton, especially Murph, like just my drive and, how I take on a project or tackle something, and just like being able to see how he worked and how he, would put something together and the time and diligence that he would do, even just on a simple Sound Off skit. Like I still use today. So.
Oh, then there's that hack Williams that he has to put up with.
So Chris and I go back a long way. So do you know this, Shipley, that I was his very first intern at Fanatic?
I did not know that. No.
So I want to say it was either 2011 or 2012. I think it was 2012 when he brought me on. It was the spring of 2012. Because it was like it was a lead up into like spring camp. And he brought me on to just like go to those like kind of dumb like coach and player interviews that they bring out a couple people and it's just like, they chat before or after practice. And
it's beneath him. So he just sends an intern.
he's like, I really don't want to have to drive up to Ames from Bondurant, but I will. But he brought me on because he kind of knew me, saw me around again. Like he saw me around games for doing stuff for ISU TV. He's like, man, you're already there. You're already doing this stuff. Like, I will pay you now if you want to do some of this stuff. And so, I kind of like did that for him kind of on the side. And I was like, ISU TV isn't paying me, but I'll do some stuff for you. So he, kind of like brought me in at a very like small level. I was just kind of doing video stuff, and I kind of like helped grow the like CFTV YouTube page and put stuff on there. That stuff, it's crazy. Like people love that stuff. Like they want to hear from the players and coaches. And he's like, I promise you, these will get like thousands of views. And it's true, they did. It was pretty simple. Like he just wanted me to post videos, but man, that was just like kind of like my foot in the door and just like getting to know people. Covering Iowa State, and man, like Williams is just the best. Like I owe him so much for what he's done for me personally and professionally. Like he can trust me, I can trust him with my life at this point. Like and a lot of that started, from those relationships early on. Like he knew I would show up to all the press conferences and he knew he could count on me, right?
Yeah.
And so that is where our relationship started. We stayed, when I went and worked at 13, like I wasn't doing stuff for him then, but we just still remained like friends and would see each other all the time and kind of did, odds and ends things for Fanatic. Like he would bring me on to do a video here and there, help out with some stuff. And and then so like I said, when we moved up to Minnesota, like I was like, I wanted to stay connected and like do stuff in Iowa, but like just like my job and just like couldn't. So I would just listen to podcasts, I obviously still friends with those guys and listen to everything, listen to all the podcasts, listen to like every Murph and Andy show. Like Aaron, you're out in Washington, right? Like you want, like, you're probably in the same boat as me where it's like, you just like want to, Iowa's such a special place, man. It's like, you just want to like consume everything and be like, you don't want to feel like you're forgetting where you came from. And it's just like kind of back to like your question about like why I love Iowa State, man. It's just like, I just love the people that are talking about it. I love I love Fanatic. I love all the people that I've gotten to know through that, through working in sports. And I was able to like, listen to all of like Chris and Ross, on the Sports Fanatics on like it's KXNO was huge. Like getting to stream all those podcasts and, that was a big way for me to just stay connected and Cycle Fanatic obviously too. And then when we moved back, I was able to connect with Chris. We live down the street from each other now. So we're both in Bondurant, which is kind of cool. But I'm like, I just want to like, whatever you need me to do, I can get involved with Fanatic, whatever you want to do. And like, 3 months later, COVID hit when we moved back. And things just got crazy, and we weren't really sure Fanatic. We weren't sure what was going to happen with Cycle Fanatic. We weren't sure what was going to happen with anything at that point. But when they were like, "Okay, yep, we're going to have a football season. Like, things are going to kind of get back to normal." Chris and I got together, and we're like, how can we can continue to like cover the Cyclones in a remote type of fashion? I'm like, well, I know about this like StreamYard technology that you're using, Shipley, to do all these broadcasts. And so we kind of figured out how we could do like live, halftime shows and post-game shows. We got like Brett Meyer in to do halftime and post-game. And, we were still able to have like journalists there on the ground. And so we like totally brought this new element of Cycle Fanatic through YouTube and live streaming to Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of like got brought back into doing stuff with Fanatic. And it really was kind of a full circle thing for like being able, like doing these little videos of coaches and players as a student on the YouTube page, and now to like come back as a working professional now and like help to kind of grow that through live streams. And what they're doing now is just like, it's cool, man. It's cool to have been part of that and to see where it's come after these last 4 years.
It's pretty incredible how much Cyclone Fanatic has grown over the years. So
Yeah.
Little known fact, 2007, maybe 2008, pre Williams, it was.
Yeah, it would have been.
I advertised on Cyclone Fanatic with one of the little banner things they had on the side, as a salesperson offering a discount at Carl Chevrolet.
Hey, Carl Chevrolet is still one of Cycle Fanatic's big sponsors.
Yeah,
so.
I think they thought I was crazy when I told them I want to advertise on this website, because it was all pretty new back then. And I just bought a little banner ad. It was a picture of me in like a green silk shirt. I wonder if they still have it in the file somewhere. It'd be funny.
Oh man, the message boards had their heyday. Man, they were hot before Twitter. Man, like that was Twitter, right?
Yeah.
The message board was Twitter before Twitter. I remember that. Like I would be when I was in high school, we would get in trouble on the library computers for looking on Cyclone Fanatic. They would screenshot it and like print it and come over to us and be like, "You've lost access for a week."
Yeah,
probably looking at your Carl Chevrolet banner ads there, Aaron.
It could have been, like I said, it was 07, probably 08, I would guess. And I think it was maybe Jeremy, is that right, who was running it at that time?
Jeremy, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because I think I remember emailing with him.
Yep.
I mean, I've slept and drank a lot since then. So, but yeah, I just find that amusing that all these years later, even then it was like the place to go for Cyclone talk with a message board, because there just wasn't any real coverage in Central Iowa. And now, Fanatic is everywhere, and Iowa everywhere is now everywhere. And it's like, and a lot of that's driven off of, what Williams has done and the dedication he's put into it, which is it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's well said. I totally agree with you. I'm super proud of what he's done and, the level of coverage that he gives to Iowa State. I mean, nobody does it better. Nobody does it better than him in Cyclone Fanatic. Just the breadth of everything that they cover, what they're able to cover. And a lot of that just is the detriment and the fall of, print and where we are as from a journalistic perspective. It's no fault of those people. But as a locally owned, grassroots company, they are able to do things differently. And, a lot of it is, couldn't do anything without sponsors and the diehard freaking awesome Cyclone fans that there are out there that show up to freaking events in Okoboji and, Eastern Iowa and, Clarinda. Like, it's incredible. Like, I got to go on the road show, was it 2 years ago, a year or two ago, back when Williams brought it back to his hometown, and that was a cool moment for him. It's like freaking like 400 or 500 people out there, like just the support. Like it's cool, man. And again, that kind of comes back to like why I love Iowa State. The people are amazing. Iowa State fans are amazing. That's why I'm so excited for football season. Like we haven't even talked to Iowa State football yet. Like I'm just I got my shirt on,
Nice.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready for basketball. I'm ready for football. Let's go. It's August. It's football month, man.
Well, we'll get to some football talk, but I'll jump in here and say about Williams. I think that what makes him such a success is that he's so down to earth. He's not fake, and he is very open and caring person. I've met him a couple times. We've kind of done a few things, whatever. But like what he does for Ava's Way is is super great. You walk up to him, he'll take the time to talk to you. He remembers all that stuff. So that's what I think what makes that type of success. And Hassel's the same way. I mean, Hassel interacts with people. He doesn't big time anybody and stuff like that. I mean, it's just a good format and a good company that does good things. So,
and a lot of that is just it's how he was raised, man. He's got the best parents. It's both of them. I mean, they're Iowans, man. Iowans are the best. Like when I moved out here, when I moved from California to Iowa, what kept me here is the people. And people are always like, man, why did you move to Iowa, California to Iowa? And you stayed? I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I stayed because of the people are incredible. I stayed because of there's opportunities here that you can't get in California, as crazy as it sounds. It's just a great place to live. I freaking love it here. That's why I stayed. It's why I want to raise my family here. Yeah, simple as that.
Quick straw poll. Did you guys see? I'm sure Matt, you probably saw it. I don't know if you did, Chris. Williams's tweet about his dad's wallet.
Yes, the Big Mac.
Okay, so which one are you, Chris?
I have the minimal wallet. I have the small one. I just transitioned. I had a big fat one, and then
I was going to bet money on you
bunch.
having a big fat wallet.
Literally just bought that smaller condensed wallet a month ago.
I am not at that. I still have a leather wallet. I'm probably the next Mike Williams. I probably have the next thick wallet like that. I try and clean when it starts getting a little bit of girth to it. I usually try and declutter it a little bit. I've got just so many like gift cards and crap that I just like try and like put in drawers. I'm like, I'll get to those later.
Mine's a standard. Well, not quite a standard wallet because it doesn't have the fold open to put your bills in part. It's got a built-in like money clip on it.
Nice.
But it's maybe an inch thick, so I'm in the middle. I'm not the super thin, but not to the leaning over like this when you sit on it.
I think you're convincing me I need to switch over. It's like I use Apple Pay a lot. Like I got to switch over. I got to just move all my cards onto my phone.
I was surprised that this one, mine has a little spring compression and you push it and all of your cards just kind of pop out in a file.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is pretty legit. Speaking of which, minimalizing, and then we'll get to football, but we've been having this thing at work where we've been discussing about whether or not we should have hard business cards, or I've been pushing the company to go to the digital business cards on their phone or whatever. And there's just been some discussion about it, whatever. And we were at 804 Main here, this bar in Norwalk, with some friends. We were having drinks, and I was telling my buddies about this, and my buddy Ryan's like, "Oh, I got to have a hard business card." And I was like, "You're such a nerd." I was like, "You're such an old man." And then I started talking to the bartender, and we got to talking about this business venture with Three Beards Media. And he's like, "Well, I can't really. You really need to talk to my boss. Do you have a business card?" And I was like, damn it, no, I don't have a business card. So that backfired on me. I didn't have a hard business card. So, but that's what happens when you tout one thing and then all of a sudden you need the other. So
yeah, see, we're in the AKC Marketing Studios, by the way.
Yes,
I'll give a little shameless plug. I am co-hosting Two Guys tomorrow.
Yeah,
because those guys are on vacation. So Andrew Downs and I are co-hosting Two Guys tomorrow.
Sweet.
So 8:30 Iowa everywhere. You can find us. I don't know if you saw. I got some heat.
Matt, you can't promote your show on mine when you have a bigger listenership. It should be the other way around. You need to go on Two Guys tomorrow.
Well, fair enough. Well, I was trying to plug Andrew too.
No, I'm just teasing.
Who's the best as well?
Andrew is the absolute best, and I'm glad that he's feeling better. So
yeah, for sure. I think he was at Hinterland this weekend.
I think he was. That was
which
a shit
I don't know.
show.
I heard about that. The lines were long, and it was like 105 degrees here today, Aaron.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
It was 85 here.
let's take a break from and we'll get a word from Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage, and then let's talk a little upcoming football season.
Let's do it.
And then we'll move on.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
All right, and we're back. Football season's coming up, Matt. Probably, I don't know, dare I say, just as anticipated as the 2020 team or the 2021 team that came back after winning the Fiesta Bowl?
No.
You don't think so? With the new Big 12 and the openness of the Big 12?
I think from a talent perspective,
Aaron's going to roll his eyes
you're
at
not
me.
quite there, but what you're saying, Shipley, the Big 12's never been more open for the taking
And the potential?
than right now. Yes. And
No,
you've got the playmakers. I mean, Rocco Beck showed us everything he needed to last year.
Oh, for sure.
You can jump in, Aaron, but I was just going to say, from an offensive perspective, I mean, you don't have the running back quality of like a Breece Hall, but we saw some pretty dang good flashes from Abu Sama last year. Now he doesn't have that hit the hole hard, like David Montgomery would. But I think you're going to see a lot of mixed use out of him. I hope they get him involved in the passing game a little bit more. I don't think we saw as much of that last year. But we got kind of a little bit of a bad taste in our mouth in that bowl game.
Yeah.
From the running game. I think you're actually going to see 3 Iowa State running backs that are going to get close to 500 yards this year, which I don't even know the last time we would have had that. But I don't think Sama's going to be like, I think he's going to be great. I think he's a fantastic running back, but I think you're going to get a couple other guys in there. I know Carson Hansen was, showed us some stuff last year too. And I think he's probably earned more carries this year. They've got it. They got another guy coming in. I think he's either a freshman or somebody that Williams is telling me that they really like too, that
Lee,
is it Lee? Yeah.
Yeah, kid from Arizona, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the star of the spring game, if I remember right.
That's right. Yeah, and this Princeton offensive lineman that's supposed to be like freaking Hulk, like
a dude from what I've heard.
Yeah, he was the number 1 transfer offensive lineman, I think.
And you got a perfect, future pro and Higgins and Knoll and Ben Bramers. I think he had a great freshman year. He's potential pro prospect, but again, I don't think the talent level is quite what you were saying. After the Fiesta Bowl, the anticipation coming into that, but I think the Big 12's open for the taking, man. Like
I do too.
We win-lost, the season on 2 guys last week. And Hassel, Williams posed me the question. I don't know if you saw this.
I did.
Is if Iowa State goes 9-3 and doesn't make the Big 12 championship game, is that a disappointing season? And I said yes.
I agree with you.
Well, and then Hassel says 9-3. He's like, what's your expectation? And I said the playoff. I said the college football playoff. Now I will backtrack a little bit on that because I kind of got pinned. I got pinned from him in that situation. Williams' initial question to me was, "Is that a disappointment? 9-3 and not making the championship game." I think this season it is. If you get to the championship game, you're 1 win away from the at-large.
Right.
You're telling me if you lose that game, that's not a disappointment? That to me, that's a disappointment.
Sure it is.
But what if you didn't go on to win your bowl game and become the first 10-win season ever?
Now that's not a disappointment. That's not a disappointment.
I would challenge you that it is though. because I realize that the
You're
competition may not have-
insane. You lived through the
That
80s.
if you
know.
get to okay, Aaron's saying if you get to a bowl game to get to your 10th win,
right.
Shipley, you're saying that would be a disappointment.
I would say I probably would look at it and go, I would have more of a what if. We just won this 10th game. We won our postseason game.
Yeah.
Man, if we'd have won that championship game, what could we have done in the playoff? That's, I don't know. Disappointment, no. But I would have had some serious what ifs of, God, man, what if we, and that was the same way for me in 2020. When we lost Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, I was the same way. We went and we decimated Oregon. And I was like, man, what would have happened if we'd have won that game?
One drive away.
Like, one drive away, right?
One play, really.
That's for me where I would, maybe disappointment isn't right, but a big, huge what if and a missed opportunity.
That's fair. For me, it's the expanded playoff to me is just a lot of unknowns right now. Like, I want to see what the committee does, with these non-at-large, like how many teams is the Big Ten going to get in realistically? There's a lot of people, a lot of talking heads saying, "Oh, the Big 12 only is getting one team in, only one team." Like, okay, why? Right. If there's, I think there could be, if there's 10-2, depending on the wins.
Well, let's look at
and what else happens. We got to just see what happens in the season. And I want to see a full year of this playoff, see what happens, how many teams get in. I don't know.
Look at it this way. If let's say Utah runs the table, is 12-0 going into the Big 12 Conference Championship. And let's say in bizarro world, because it is possible, Iowa State's 11-1 with their loss to Utah.
Yes.
And then they beat Utah in the Big 12 championship game. You've got two.
Then I think both teams get in.
Yeah.
But
right?
but that's a great point, Aaron. It's like, well, what's the committee going to do? Are they going to give that? Are they just going to give the one at large? I don't know.
I mean, you can't tell me 11-1, or would it be 11-1?
Yeah, they'd both be 11-1. Yeah.
Well, 12-1 and a 12 and they're 12-1.
Would they take
both
a
12-1?
Would they take?
How do you leave out 2
11-1?
12-1 teams from what is supposed to still technically be a power conference?
But what if the same thing happens in the Big Ten
That's
and the
just what I was
SEC?
gonna say.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what happens
because the uneven scheduling
is going to get in.
Yeah,
because with uneven scheduling, you're going to get that. You're going to get. You could get 3. I guess I'd have to look at like every team. The SEC, it might be possible to get 2. Is it possible to get 2 undefeated teams? I don't know. They only play 8 conference games too, which is BS.
Right.
Yeah. Sissies.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you could easily
have a Utah 12-1 that didn't win the championship. They're sitting there, and you have Michigan and Ohio State that are in the same division. Let's say Michigan's 12-0, Ohio State's 11-1. They win that game. They go on and win the Big Ten. There could be 3 teams sitting there with 1 loss from the Big Ten.
Right.
They're taking all 3 of those.
That's what I'm saying. The committee's going to be in a really tough spot. I want to see what they do.
Well, I mean,
and that could change my mind on my saying of disappointing, because like a lot of it is out of your hands, right?
Right.
You could do all you could to get into that playoff. You could go, like you said, Aaron, like you could go 11-1. You're 1 loss to Utah and lose in that game. You're 11-2. You know what I mean? Like, are your wins in conference? Is your win over Iowa in that scenario good enough to get you a qualifying?
Right. That's and because for a fact, if Iowa has one of those seasons where they go, let's say 10-2, and play in the Big Ten Conference Championship game, they're in. Whoever plays in the Big Ten Championship game is in, and the same with the SEC.
Both teams.
Unless something super weird happens, like one of them's 7-5 or 8-4.
What if Iowa's 10-2 and they get blown out by like on Ohio State?
I don't think it's going to matter.
I don't know.
Because they're going to be the number 1 and number 2 team in
Yeah,
the
but man, the
conference.
committee, not that the committee cares what people are saying, but that would be a hard sell. If
Well, that's why
if Iowa has the same and I'm not banging on them. I mean, their offense was terrible. They had the same terrible offense, and they got blew out like they did last year. If you take last year's Big Ten championship game, there's no way the college football playoff is going to say, let's take Iowa. There's no way.
There's no way the Big Ten and SEC don't get 2 teams in.
That's why Hassel's saying, like, if Iowa goes 10-2, he doesn't want them playing in the Big Ten championship game.
No,
I bet he's getting murdered for that.
You don't want them to get destroyed and be 10-3 and get left out.
I think Iowa's.
You know,
I think Iowa's going to.
Is that possible? Maybe.
I think Iowa's going to be. I think they're going to be a lot better this year. That's just my opinion. I actually think, and you'll hear my bold prediction tomorrow on Two Guys. I think that Iowa-Ohio State game's closer than people think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, I think that
you know who their quarterback
Ohio
is, right?
State's not as good as
who.
Iowa. I don't think they're going to.
You know who Ohio State's quarterback is, right?
Will Howard.
Yeah, he's a scrub.
Oh, from Kansas.
He's a nobody.
Kansas State.
Yeah.
What did he do at Kansas State? He got run out of there.
Yeah.
And Ohio State's like, they're going to basically make him a game man. They're going to make him a Brock Purdy game manager, and be like, don't screw it up for us. I don't buy it. Okay. If Iowa can get a little better on offense, I think that game could be pretty close. They both have great defenses, so we'll see what can happen. But
Ohio State is going to win their games this year just from sheer out-talenting most of the rest of the people they play.
Well, if Will Howard doesn't screw it up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's going to come down to. Because they're still going to have dudes. You know, it's just the way it is. Because Penn State can maybe hang with them.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, maybe. Who knows what they're going to be this year? That's going to be interesting to see what kind of regression there is with Michigan. They've still got talent, but are they going to be? They're not going to be what they were last year. Who's left?
Yeah,
those 3 teams in the Big Ten are the cream of the crop, and Penn State can't hang with the other 2 most of the time.
I don't know about you guys, but this is the most excited I've been for a college football season, I think, ever. Just because of that, just because the playoff is more expanded this year. Well, from an Iowa State perspective, I love our team, but I think from a college football fan perspective, man, that run to the last few weeks is going to be fun, isn't it? Like, it's just to see who's, we've always had those puzzle pieces, but it's only been 14, and it's been like, okay, It's going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, whatever. Like, it's going to be so fun that we get to see, a group of 4 team get in, this year, and Iowa State has a realistic shot now of getting into that and hosting a game. Like, how epic would that be if we got to host at Jack Trice in December?
Awesome. Oh my gosh. That's kind of what I said the last few years when they were contemplating this, and after Texas and Oklahoma were leaving, and we brought in those other schools, I was even more confident then. Like, okay, I can't see a scenario where Matt Campbell's going to leave. Like, why would he want to leave when he's in he's in a conference that has a guaranteed playoff spot?
Mm-hmm.
The 2 biggest schools that you're punching out of your weight class are gone. You're now on a level playing field. You've got this program ramping up and running now where you want it. Like, short of an Ohio State or someplace like that. But we've talked to quite a few of his older players and former players. And I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that he talks to those players about what he talks about, and then he would just up and leave in a lurch, right? Like, I struggle with, I don't think that he would do that. Now, as Williams always says, every coach lies. I get it. But maybe that's just my naivety.
So let me see what you think about this. Let me pontificate on that a little bit. That's the word. I think you're right, Chris. If
I'm marking this. Hold on. Let me mark the tape. Hold on.
No, this is an if.
Oh, damn it.
If the rules hadn't just changed on him.
Okay.
Because when everybody was still capped at 85 scholarships, there were going to be enough players to go around. Now you take that and you add 30 more scholars. Is it 30? 20 more scholarships, because I think it's 105.
Right.
To the top 20 whatever teams, ACC or SEC, Big 10. That's what? How many teams? 30? 32? Is it so? They each have 16 now?
Yes.
So you're taking an additional 20. What's that? What's the math? 32 times 20. 600?
Yeah, 640.
640 athletes.
I think the Big Ten has 18 teams now, by the way.
Yeah. So you're taking all right, 7. Let's call it 7, rounded off at 700. You're taking 700 athletes out of the pool for everybody but those two conferences.
Right.
I mean, can we do that? I mean, can we? Yes, but
well, okay, here, let me
we're
throw
not
this
going
at
to
you
get
too.
those players.
I keep coming back to this, and Hassel thinks I'm an idiot for saying it, but let's see what the committee does. Like, if they only, like, okay, let's say the next 3 years, they only give the Big 12 one bid, you know, like, you got to win the conference championship to get in. And they just say, basically, like, don't care about the second place team. If I'm Campbell in that position, I'm like, man, maybe I should go to the Big Ten or you know, like you just have to be realistic. Like now I'm saying, like, I think Iowa State is in a great position, and I think, you know, Texas and Oklahoma gone now, get them out of here. Iowa State's never been in a better position to win a conference championship. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, yes, he should stay, and I think his track record proves that he will. But 3-4 years down the road, if it looks like, you know, the Big 12 is only a one bid league, it's like,
yeah,
man,
that makes it pretty tough. Like,
it's a competitive disadvantage situation if that 105 and the 20 whatever $5 million it ultimately becomes, I think is what they're going for. You know, because how did Nebraska win all those national championships? They stockpiled players, and they were able to put as many guys on their walk-on squad as they wanted, and cheated their asses off. Well, although at that time it wasn't cheating, right? Because there were no limits. Well, now they're just allowing these upper-level teams to stockpile players on scholarship and expanding those rosters. We're going right back to having, not that we don't already have a handful of dominant teams, but it's just going to get worse. The gap's going to widen. That's my personal opinion.
And it's why, and that's a good example of like why, you know, Matt Campbell is going to build a developmental program always. I don't think it's ever going to change that way. And that's why you see like it's, you know, sometimes it takes like a 2-3 year cycle, but before the time that they're like, all right, these guys that we've been building, now they're ready. And I think that's where Iowa State is at this year, you know.
Yeah.
You got Rocco Beck's only in his second year. You're hoping, you know, maybe next year they take one more step, depending on who they keep, you know, transfer portal and stuff like that. But it's like, man, you got to feel pretty good going into this season, guys. Like, I look at their schedule. I mean, on paper, I would say the floor is 8 wins. The floor is 8 wins.
It's a tough schedule comparatively to a lot of.
You think it's a tough schedule? I think the last 4 to 5 games get tough. I mean, you get Kansas in that. I think you get a little break there with it being at Arrowhead.
At Arrowhead, yeah.
You know, and that at West Virginia game is going to be tough. You go to Utah, and then you come home. You get a home game against Kansas State. You know, we know how that game went last year.
Which could be anyway. Yeah, could go anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So though we're gonna learn a lot about this. I mean, God, like I said, you look on paper, they could realistically start 6-7-0. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of bowl quality teams in our schedule, in the Iowa State schedule.
Yeah.
As opposed to you look at some of the other schedules and they miss a lot of those bowl quality teams and get the Cincinnati's of the world and all of that, you know. So that's why I say hard in comparison. We're going to have tougher games day, week in and week out compared to some of the other conference schedules, because there'll be some paper tigers in the conference that don't beat anybody with a winning record.
All right, we're gonna finish up with our last quick segment. So Matt, this is inspired by Steph Copley. Steph Copley was on the show a number of episodes ago, and jokingly told the host of this show, not me, to shut the fuck up so she could finish getting her point across. And I thought it was so funny that we decided to make it a sponsored segment.
Yes.
But instead of anybody paying us for this, we're asking people to donate to the Young Women's Resource Center in honor of Steph Copley. So we're going to get a message from Steph. And then, Matt, the segment is we come back. Aaron and I have to shut the fuck up, and you can say whatever you want.
Oh, awesome.
With carte blanche and no response whatsoever. And just so you know, the last time Steph co-hosted this show, she messed up her own segment. Just so you know, she wouldn't shut the fuck up. So imagine that. All right, let's get a word from Steph.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
All right, Matt,
That's good stuff.
STFU.
And I just scanned the QR code, so I will be making my donation after the show. I love that. STFU. So Shipley, when you asked me to come on Old Man Strength, I joked. I said, I'm not old. I'm not strong. I do have 2 kids, so it makes me a little bit stronger than maybe I once was, having to lift these kids up. But no, I showed you, I was like, I'm wearing my dad's hat today. And when I think of Old Man Strength, I do think of my dad. And I didn't get to talk about him earlier in the show when you asked me about him that much. But I lost my dad. It'll be 2 years ago, December. And when I think of Old Man Strength, I think of my dad. I think he was only 65 or 66 when he passed. But my dad went through he went through a pretty hard life. He grew up in California, but his sisters were he had 2 sisters, and they were quite a bit older than him, like 17, 18 years older than him. So he was an oops baby. That's what they say, an oops baby. A very oops baby. But so he grew up, his parents were a little bit older. Sisters, didn't have siblings around the house, kind of learned a lot about life on his own. And my dad, he had his faults, as we all do. When I told you, my parents got divorced when I graduated high school, and my dad moved back out to California and just kind of fell on some hard times, battled depression, was basically homeless at one point. And that was really hard, being so far away, but we had amazing friends out in California that took him in basically and gave him a new life, and this was all within the last 10-ish, 12, 13 years. And it was hard, man. It was hard, being far away from him during that time. But man, we always, he and I would always stay connected through sports, and we texted pretty much every day about the Giants or, Bay Area sports and stuff. And he was never really good about being super emotional or stuff like that. But we always had sports to talk about. And he's why I love sports so much, is my dad. And, but when I think Old Man Strength, so my dad, I told you, he was a graphic designer too. My mom and him were both graphic designers, but when he moved back to California, he didn't really want to do that anymore. He kind of he was kind of getting to that older part of like being a design. You know, the graphic designers now are a lot, you know, skew a little bit younger. And he, you know, the trade, the craft of graphic design, it evolves a lot, and he just hadn't kept up with it very much. And you know, maybe that was part of like, you know, the depression and stuff that kicked in, and just like feeling like he didn't really fit in career wise. But when he kind of got this like second lease on life, he like kind of like I said before, like kind of like bet on himself. He's like, I'm just gonna like do stuff that I like to do and stuff that I know I can help other people. He in his like later part of his career became basically a handyman in a way, and like would do an odd jobs basically. So he you know, had a friend of ours was a realtor out there, and you know, had him, you know, clean up houses and stuff, you know, that were going to be showed and stuff like that. And man, to his credit, he got some really good people on his side and was able to like make a living out there by doing that. And dude, he was like the epitome of old man strength at that point. Like he was in his 60s, and he's like, you know, building fences for people, and he did it on the cheap, man. Like he did not want to like, you know, swindle people. He was like the most reliable, trustworthy person. And you know, like when my dad was in the hospital, when he was like dying, basically, there were people that would just like, that were just texting me and my brother and just like, your dad was the most incredible person, the most incredible worker, hardest working person we ever knew. Like, if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. And he had like, and there's still, you know, 3 or 4 of those people that we're still in contact with that I didn't know at all. They just like knew my dad and was like, would trust him with his life basically. And it's just like the epitome of who my dad was, and like I feel like I'm a lot of him in those ways. So yeah, I just like live my life through how my dad was. I wear, like I said, I wear this hat to I remember him through that. And yeah, he was old man strength for sure. Well,
that's a really great thing, Matt.
Yeah.
My dad passed away in 2011, 20 days before my marriage to my current wife. So, and what you said about, you know, as you get older and you feel out of place or whatever, and the depression.
Yeah.
That was me last year or the year before. You know, I took a job. I was working with kids that were way younger than me, and you know, they were great kids to work with, but you know, when you're out of that environment, that can really do a number on you. But
yeah, but it doesn't it go to show though, just like the friends and the people you have around you are everything.
Absolutely.
Everything, right? Like we couldn't live our lives without the people that we have on our side, and that's why you got to have good ones, man. Like get people on your side that you would trust with your life, and don't let them go, you know?
Well, I'm sure he's really proud of you. So
Thank you.
You're a good dad. I see you quite a bit. We're friends on Facebook, and so well done. Well done.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up. I do want to talk a little bit about we did launch a new merchandise store for Three Beards Media. We have some nice, cool stuff through the website. So our Old Man Strength shirts, which I am wearing tonight, and then we have the super cool Side of the Storm for Marcus and Brent and those guys. Ball Don't Lie, the False Start mental health podcast, and then the Three Blind Refs. And yes, Hawkeye fans, we have a stupid shirt for you guys, but I'm waiting to get it approved before we launch it. So,
and speaking of Side of the Storm, isn't there a big some kind of there's an event coming? So plug that too, because you have more of the details than I do.
Yep. So on September 7th, the day of the Iowa State football game, we are going to have a pre-game podcast live from Brent Curvey's restaurant, Coach's Kolaches. And Conrad Holly, the CEO of the men's basketball team, is going to be there to sign some autographs. I'll bring the ambulance out. So come out, check out, get an autograph from Conrad, get some kolaches, meet Brent and Dave as they host the the pregame show at Side of the Storm. And we also have a little venture that I might be able to announce this week if I can get Sam to text me back this week. So
if any Hawkeye fans show up to coaches with a big play curve, will he put them through a table and then you can just send them to the hospital and that ambulance ship?
You bet. We'll just pile them up in the ambulance. That's right. That's right. No problem.
We're gonna go full Bills Mafia.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So, Matt Van Winkle, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you giving us
My
your
pleasure.
time.
Thanks, guys.
Aaron, thank you as always. Check out the rest of our content on the Three Beards Media Network. I think we have an episode of False Starts this week, and then we're getting close to football season. So, Side of the Storm, Hawks IV will be ramping up.
Yep.
I think Aaron, you and Amy got something in the hopper, something about some show that's coming up, and I don't know if Amy ever decides
maybe
to do it.
if we get around to it.
So with that, check out all our sponsors. Thank you to our newest sponsor, Green Bay Realty, and Green Beret Realty, and Kyle Lehman. I'm fitting it all in there. I'm like a NASCAR driver trying to get all my sponsors in. So, and of course the guys down at Revelton Distilling Company. With that, we are out of here.